Once upon a time, in the busy town of Delta State, lived a girl named Ayomide. She was not just a beauty. She was the kind of girl that turned heads wherever she went. With her long, flowing hair, smooth brown skin, and perfect figure, people would always say, "This one is a queen." But Ayomide didn't care much for the compliments. To her, beauty was just the surface. What really mattered was her ambition, her dreams of becoming a successful, independent woman. Ayomide always said, "When I get older, I will be a boss lady. No man will boss me around." Her focus was on school. She was one of the best students in her class, and she had big plans for her future. She wanted to finish her education, start a business, and become so successful that no one could tell her what to do. Ayomide believed that a woman should be in control of her own life, and she wasn't about to let any man get in the way of that. Every morning, Ayomide walked to school, her uniform sharp and her head held high. Boys lined the streets, trying to catch her attention, but she had no time for them. "I'm too young for that," she would say to herself. "When I get older, I will think about relationships, but for now, my future is all that matters." Her friends, on the other hand, were already talking about boyfriends and relationships. They would laugh and tease Ayomide, saying, "Ah, Ayo, when will you stop chasing books and start chasing love?" But Ayomide would only smile and shake her head. "I'm going to be a boss lady," she said confidently. "I don't need a man to complete me. When the time is right, I will settle down. But now, I need to focus on my goals." Her mother, however, was worried. "Ayomide," her mother would say, "you are not getting younger. These boys won't wait forever." "Mama, don't worry. I am too young to be thinking about marriage. When I'm older and have built my empire, then I will consider it." As time went on, Chuka, a boy in her class who had always admired Ayomide, started getting closer to her. Chuka was serious about Ayomide. He wasn't just attracted to her beauty, but also to her intelligence and determination. He would offer to help her with her assignments and walk her home after school. But no matter how hard Chuka tried, Ayomide's mind was elsewhere. "Chuka, you're a good friend, but I don't have time for all these love things," she said one day as they walked home. "I want to focus on becoming successful, and I don't want any distractions." Chuka smiled softly. "I understand, Ayomide. But remember, life is not only about being a boss. Sometimes love helps us grow too." Ayomide laughed, waving off his words. "When I get older, we'll see. But for now, I'm too young for that." As Ayomide continued with her studies, her beauty and ambition only grew stronger. More boys, even men, started showing interest, offering her gifts and promises of a good life. But Ayomide didn't budge. In her heart, she was determined to be the master of her own destiny, to build a future where she could never be controlled by anyone, especially not a man. But life has a way of teaching us lessons when we least expect them. Ayomide's focus on her dreams and her belief that there's always time for everything would soon be tested in ways she could not imagine. As days turned into weeks, Ayomide's focus on her studies deepened, but so did the attention she received from admirers. The boys in school, men in the community, and even some of her teachers couldn't hide their admiration for her. But Ayomide stayed firm. Her only love was her ambition. One evening, while Ayomide was sitting in her room studying, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her close friend Ngozi. "Ayo, there's a party this weekend. You should come. It will be fun, and all the popular people will be there. Plus, you might meet someone special." Ayomide rolled her eyes and typed back, "Ngozi, you know me nah. I'm not interested in all this." I have exams next week, and I want to focus. I'll think about settling down when I'm older. But Ngozi wouldn't give up. You can't be all about books all the time, Ayo. You have to enjoy life, too. Come on, just for once. Even Chuka will be there. Ayomide hesitated. She knew that Ngozi had a point. Maybe she was being too strict on herself. After all, one night of fun wouldn't hurt, right? Against her usual attitude, she decided to attend. The night of the party arrived. Ayomide, dressed in a sleek, fitted modern gown that hugged her curves perfectly, stepped into the party. The music was loud, the lights were flashing, and the room was filled with young men and women dancing and having fun. As she entered, heads turned. Ayomide was used to this reaction. But tonight, she felt something different. A sense of curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, she could enjoy herself for one night. As the night went on, Ayomide noticed Chuka watching her from across the room. He was dressed sharply, looking every bit the gentleman. He had always admired her, but tonight he seemed more determined. He approached her and asked for a dance. Ayomide, feeling a little adventurous, agreed. They danced, laughed, and for the first time in a while, Ayomide let her guard down. But the night was not as simple as it seemed. Just as Ayomide was beginning to enjoy herself, a commotion broke out near the entrance of the venue. A loud voice yelled, "Odogwu! Odogwu is here!" Everyone turned to see who it was. In walked Odogwu, a wealthy local businessman known for his lavish lifestyle and his way with women. Odogwu was older, rich, and notorious for getting whatever and whoever he wanted. The moment he spotted Ayomide, his eyes lit up. "There she is," he whispered to his assistant. "I've heard about this one, and tonight she will be mine." Odogwu's reputation for charming young girls and then discarding them was well known in Delta, but Ayomide didn't know much about him. As he walked toward her, Chuka tensed up, sensing trouble. Odogwu was a man of power, and no one dared to cross him. "Hello, my beautiful flower," Odogwu said smoothly, reaching for Ayomide's hand. "I've been hearing about you, and tonight, I finally get to see your beauty in person. How about you leave all these small boys and come with me? I will show you the good life." Ayomide was taken aback. She didn't like how he talked down to Chuka and the others as if they were beneath him, but at the same time, she was intrigued by his confidence and power. For a brief moment, she thought about what her life could be if she accepted his offer: luxury, wealth, and a life of ease. But just as quickly, she snapped back to reality. She wasn't looking for that kind of life. "I'm not interested, sir," she said politely but firmly. Odogwu chuckled, clearly not used to being turned down. "Ah, Ayomide, every woman says that at first, but trust me, you'll change your mind." He leaned in closer and whispered, "I always get what I want." Chuka, feeling protective, stepped in. She said she's not interested. Please leave her alone. Odogwu glared at Chuka, his face turning serious. "You dare speak to me like that, boy? Do you know who I am?" The room fell silent. Ayomide's heart raced. She didn't want any trouble, but it was clear that things were getting heated. Everyone in the room was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. In a low voice, Ayomide spoke up. "Chuka, it's okay. Let's just go." But Odogwu wasn't done. "You can leave, but remember, Ayomide, I always get what I want." With that, he walked away, but his words hung in the air like a threat. Chuka took Ayomide's hand, and they left the party, but the encounter had rattled both of them. On the walk home, Chuka turned to her. "Ayo, you need to be careful. People like Odogwu don't just let things go. If he wants something, He won't stop until he gets it. You might think you're too young for all this relationship stuff, but the world has its own plans. You can't always control what happens." Ayomide nodded but remained silent. She had always believed that she could handle anything that came her way. But for the first time, she began to feel the weight of the choices she had made. As they approached her house, Chuka stopped and looked at her seriously. "Ayomide, I care about you. Just promise me you'll be careful." She smiled and nodded, though her mind was already racing with thoughts. Was Chuka right? Was Odogwu really someone she needed to worry about? Or was it just another test of her resolve? As Ayomide went to bed that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change in ways she wasn't prepared for. The question was, would she be ready when it did? The days following the party brought more attention to Ayomide. Word had spread about how she had turned down Odogwu, the wealthy businessman everyone feared. People in the town began to talk about her boldness, her grace, and most importantly, her dignity. While most girls her age were easily swayed by flashy cars, expensive gifts, and the promise of an easy life, Ayomide was different. She remained focused on her dreams, keeping her head high, not swayed by distractions. In school, her reputation as the untouchable girl grew. Some admired her strength, while others felt intimidated. Her close friends, Ngozi, Ifeoma, and Tola, started noticing the growing gap between them and Ayomide. While they often gossiped about boys, parties, and their latest crushes, Ayomide talked only about her studies and plans for the future. She was determined to be a boss lady, a woman of power, control, and independence, with no need to rely on a man. Her confidence and ambition became the talk of the town. Everywhere she went, people couldn't stop talking about the young girl who carried herself like a queen. Older women admired her for not giving in to the pressures that came with being young and beautiful. Men respected her for standing her ground and not allowing anyone to dictate her life. But not everyone was happy for her. Her three friends, who once saw her as part of their clique, started to feel uneasy. As Ayomide's star continued to rise, theirs seemed to dim. They were still young, but the choices they had made in secret made them feel less worthy compared to Ayomide's untouched innocence. What made things worse was Ayomide's pride in staying pure, unlike them. Though she never openly judged them, they felt the difference, and it stung. One afternoon, as they sat together at their usual spot, under a mango tree in the schoolyard, Ngozi broke the silence. "Ayo, you too much, oh. Everybody is talking about you these days. Odogwu Sef couldn't get you." "Nawa," she said with a forced smile. Ifeoma and Tola giggled, but the tension was clear. Ayomide, unaware of their discomfort, smiled. "I just know what I want. I don't have time for distractions." Tola, with a sly look in her eyes, asked, "But don't you think you're too strict with yourself, Ayo? I mean, it's okay to have some fun once in a while. You won't be young forever." Ayomide shrugged. "There's time for everything. Right now, I want to focus on my dreams. I want to be someone important, a woman people will respect because of what I've achieved, not because of who I'm with." Her words hit the girls hard, but none of them let it show. Ngozi quickly changed the topic, but in their hearts, jealousy was brewing. Ayomide's self-respect and ambition had become a constant reminder of their own insecurities. And as much as they tried to support her outwardly, their resentment grew. Something had to change. That night, the three friends gathered at Ngozi's house, gossiping and laughing as usual. But this time, the laughter was laced with bitterness. "I'm tired of Ayo acting like she's better than us," Ifeoma said, her voice dripping with frustration. She's always talking about her big dreams. What about us? Ngozi nodded. It's like she's forgetting where she came from. Just because she's pretty and all the guys are chasing her, she thinks she's special. Tola, the quietest of the three, added, We need to remind her that she's not perfect. As they sat there, a plan began to form in their minds, something subtle, something that would bring Ayomide down from the pedestal she unknowingly placed herself on. But for now, they kept their intentions hidden, smiling and laughing whenever Ayomide was around. Little did she know, the people she trusted most were plotting her downfall. Meanwhile, Ayomide continued to thrive. She excelled in her studies, and her beauty, combined with her ambition, made her the pride of the community. Mothers would point her out to their daughters, saying, See that girl? Learn from her. She's focused, she's smart, and she's not jumping from man to man like some of you. But Ayomide's success also brought unwanted attention. More men, rich and powerful, tried to get close to her. Some offered her money, others promised connections to boost her career, but she rejected them all. She believed that true success came from hard work, not shortcuts. Then came Mr. Uche, one of her teachers, a man in his late 30s who had always admired Ayomide from a distance. One day, he called her to his office after class. Ayomide, you're an exceptional student, he began, his eyes lingering on her a little too long. You have a bright future ahead of you, and I want to help you succeed. Ayomide smiled politely, but she sensed something was off. Thank you, sir, she replied, but I'm doing okay on my own. Mr. Uche leaned forward, lowering his voice. I can do more for you than you realize. You just have to be open to it. Ayomide's heart raced. She had heard stories about teachers like this, but she never thought it would happen to her. She quickly made an excuse and left the office, feeling a mix of anger and disgust. That night, as she lay in bed, she thought about how hard it was becoming to stay true to herself in a world that constantly tried to pull her down. But no matter what, she was determined not to let anyone take away her dignity. What she didn't know was that her biggest challenge wasn't Mr. Uche or Odogwu. It was much closer than she thought, right in her circle of friends. Unbeknownst to Ayomide, her three friends, Ngozi, Ifeoma, and Tola, had become more resentful with each passing day. What started as jealousy had now turned into something darker. They couldn't stand hearing Ayomide proudly talk about her dignity and virginity anymore. In their minds, she was indirectly boasting, making them feel smaller because they had long lost theirs. They felt judged by her mere existence, even though Ayomide never spoke ill of them. In one of their secret meetings, the three friends sat together, venting their frustrations. Ngozi, pacing the room, was the most upset. It's like she thinks she's better than us because she's still a virgin. Every time she opens her mouth, it's all about her ambitions, her plans, her this and that. Ifeoma nodded, crossing her arms. I'm tired of it. Just because we've had our own experiences doesn't make us less important. But the way she talks makes it seem like we're beneath her. Tola, sitting quietly, finally spoke up. What if we do something about it? Something to bring her down a notch. Ngozi and Ifeoma stopped and looked at Tola, curiosity and intrigue flickering in their eyes. What do you mean? Ifeoma asked. Tola hesitated for a moment, then leaned in closer. I know some guys. They're not from around here, so no one will know. If we set it up right, they can teach Ayomide a lesson. She won't be so proud after that. Ngozi's eyes widened, but then a slow smile crept across her face. You mean? Tola nodded. Yes. We can arrange for these guys to meet her somewhere and, well, let's just say she won't be able to boast about her virginity anymore." For a moment, the room was silent. Then, Ayoma broke the tension with a nervous laugh. "She won't see it coming. She's so full of herself." The three girls sat together, plotting their scheme, deciding when and where it would happen. Their jealousy had grown into something toxic, something that would change Ayomide's life forever. Despite the whispers and hidden resentment from her friends, Ayomide remained focused on her dreams. She had no idea about the storm brewing around her. Every day, she studied hard, walked with confidence, and ignored the unnecessary drama that surrounded the lives of many young girls in the town. She became the talk of the town, not just because of her beauty, but because of how she carried herself. People admired her, and mothers used her as an example to their daughters. "See, Ayomide, she's not running after boys. She's focused on her future," they would say. At times, she would catch a glimpse of envy in her friends' eyes, but she didn't think much of it. She believed they were still her close companions, unaware of the dangerous thoughts that now occupied their minds. The plan was set in motion one afternoon when Ayomide was invited to a small get-together by her friends. They made it sound like a casual hangout, nothing suspicious. She trusted them completely, so she agreed to meet up with them after school at Ngozi's cousin's house on the outskirts of town. When she arrived, everything seemed normal at first. The house was quiet, but Ayomide assumed they were the first to arrive. "Ngozi, are you sure everyone is coming?" she asked, a bit surprised that the house seemed empty. Ngozi smiled, trying to appear relaxed. "Don't worry, they're on their way. Let's wait inside." As they entered the house, Ayomide didn't realize that there were 3 men already inside, waiting. Men she had never met, men who had no intention of treating her with respect. Her friends exchanged nervous glances, knowing what was about to happen. But Ayomide, completely oblivious, sat down, laughing and talking as she normally would. The tension in the room grew. The men, who had been paid off by her friends, were lurking in the shadows, waiting for the signal. As Ayomide sat in the living room, laughing and talking with her friends, she suddenly felt a shift in the air. The men emerged from the shadows, their expressions serious, and slowly approached her. Confusion crossed her face as she looked around, unsure of what was happening. Her friends said nothing, their eyes downcast, pretending not to notice the sudden tension in the room. One of the men grabbed Ayomide by the wrist. "Oga, wetin be this?" Ayomide shouted, trying to pull away. Just as the second man moved in closer, ready to force himself on her, the third man, Emeka, stepped forward, stopping them. "No, we can't do this," he said firmly, his voice trembling with guilt. The other men paused and looked at him with annoyance. "What do you mean? We've been paid. We can't back out now," one of them whispered harshly. But Emeka wasn't listening. His mind was racing with memories of the day Ayomide had saved his life. It was during a hot afternoon when he had gone to fetch water from the village stream. On his way back, a snake had bitten him, and he had collapsed in pain. Ayomide, passing by with her friends, had rushed to his aid, helping him to the nearest clinic. If not for her, he might not have survived. He remembered how she had treated him with kindness and compassion, not even asking for anything in return. Now, the idea of hurting her felt like a deep betrayal. Emeka stepped forward again, pushing the other men away. "Leave her alone," he said, his voice growing stronger. He turned to Ayomide, guilt in his eyes. "I'm sorry. We shouldn't have agreed to this. Please, forgive us." Ayomide, still in shock, backed away from them. Her heart raced, and her eyes filled with tears. What? What is going on? Emeka avoided her gaze, ashamed. He didn't confess the full truth about being paid by her friends, but he begged her for forgiveness. Please, Ayomide, just leave. Go home. Ayomide, her heart pounding, quickly gathered her things and ran out of the house, tears streaming down her face. As she ran, she couldn't believe what had just happened. She thought her friends cared for her, but their actions had shattered her trust. She had almost fallen into a terrible trap, but somehow she had been saved. Back inside, Ngozi, Ifeoma, and Tola were seething. Their plan had failed. They had hoped that once Ayomide's dignity was taken from her, she would stop boasting about her virginity and stop acting like she was better than them. But now, everything had gone wrong. Ngozi quickly tried to play it off, turning to Emeka and the other men. What happened? Why did you stop? Emeka shot her a cold look. You know exactly why. I'm not going to be a part of this wickedness. If you have a problem with her, solve it without dragging me into it. The other men, feeling the tension rise, quickly left the house, muttering under their breath. Ayomide's friends, realizing their plan had been exposed, tried to act innocent when they saw Ayomide the next day. They pretended as if they didn't know what had happened, acting as though they had been as clueless as she was. Ayomide, you're okay, right? What happened yesterday? Ngozi asked, feigning concern. Ayomide, her heart still heavy with the weight of the betrayal, looked at them and forced a weak smile. It's nothing. I'm fine. Despite the pain and anger she felt, Ayomide made the decision to forgive them. Not because they deserved it, but because she knew that carrying hatred in her heart would only weigh her down. However, deep inside, she distanced herself from them emotionally. She was no longer the carefree, trusting girl she once was. Months passed, and Ayomide continued to focus on her studies. Her hard work paid off when she graduated with excellent results, earning admiration from her teachers and classmates. She had proven to herself and everyone else that her focus and discipline could take her far. Soon, she received news that she had been accepted to one of the most prestigious universities in Nigeria to study banking and finance. It was a dream come true for Ayomide. She felt a surge of pride, knowing that she had stayed true to her goals, despite the obstacles and challenges she had faced. But the betrayal of her friends had left a lasting impact on her. She had learned valuable lessons about trust and forgiveness. She carried herself with even more dignity now, knowing that she could overcome anything as long as she stayed true to her path. As she prepared for her university journey, she resolved to remain focused on her dreams of becoming a boss lady, a woman who couldn't be controlled or manipulated by anyone. Her ambition was clear. She wanted to be successful, independent, and respected. No one could shake her confidence anymore. Ayomide's life in university was marked by hard work, dedication, and a focus on her dreams. She joined a women's empowerment group on campus called Queens of Tomorrow, a group that was passionate about mentoring young girls and encouraging them to stay focused on their education and personal development. Ayomide became a well-known figure in the group, giving talks at various events, sharing her story, and helping other girls believe in themselves. She was committed to ensuring that no girl felt pressured to give up on their dreams or settle for less. Her passion for uplifting young women came from her personal experiences and the challenges she had faced. Whenever she spoke to the girls, she would tell them, "Your future is in your hands. Don't let anyone write your story for you." Dursusafreger years flew by, and Ayomide's hard work paid off. She graduated from university with honors, earning a degree in banking and finance. It wasn't long before she landed a prestigious job at one of the top banks in Nigeria. She quickly rose through the ranks due to her intelligence, work ethic, and natural leadership abilities. Ayomide became the success story she had always dreamed of. Not only did she achieve her goal of becoming a boss lady, but she also became the talk of the town. Everyone admired her grace, strength, and determination. People would point at her and tell their children, "Look at Ayomide. She didn't let anything stop her. Follow her example." Ayomide's influence spread beyond the walls of her office. She was invited to speak at events, mentor young women, and share her journey with the world. Her name became synonymous with success, dignity, and independence. Eventually, Ayomide settled down with a man who loved and respected her for the strong, independent woman she was. He admired her dedication to her dreams and never tried to hold her back. Together, they built a happy life, and their union became another part of Ayomide's story that people celebrated. Her friends from the past, those who had once tried to bring her down, could only watch in silence. They saw how far Ayomide had come and realized that their actions had only made her stronger. Ayomide's dignity and self-respect had carried her through every challenge, and now she was living her dream. In one of her many public talks, Ayomide finally opened up about why she had been so focused on her studies and didn't want to date while she was in school. She stood in front of a crowd of young women dressed in a simple but elegant modern outfit, one that reflected her professionalism and success. Her expression was soft, but filled with strength as she began to speak. "I know some of you wonder why I chose to wait, why I didn't want to get involved in relationships or distractions during my time in school. The truth is, my decision wasn't just about ambition or being a boss lady. It was about something deeper." The room grew quiet as everyone listened closely. "My mother gave birth to me when she was just 16. She was young, alone, and had no husband to support her. The community looked down on her. People treated her like trash, and she struggled every day to provide for me. I saw the way she suffered, how she cried at night, and how she was judged for making a mistake at such a young age. I promised myself that I wouldn't repeat that cycle. I wanted to make something of my life first. I wanted to build a future that no one could take away from me." Ayomide paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "I'm not saying love is bad or that you shouldn't have relationships, but I knew, for me, that I needed to focus on myself first. I didn't want to rush into anything that could hold me back from achieving my dreams. And look where it has brought me today. Patience, focus, and dedication paid off." The crowd erupted in applause, many of the young women visibly moved by her story. Ayomide had become the example of what strength and resilience looked like. She had not only achieved her personal goals, but had also broken the cycle of hardship her mother had endured. Moral lesson. Ayomide's story carries a powerful message for young people. Focus on building yourself before rushing into relationships. Her life teaches us that it's okay to take your time, stay dedicated to your dreams, and trust that everything will fall into place at the right time. Ayomide's decision to prioritize her education and personal growth over temporary distractions helped her break the cycle of hardship she had witnessed in her mother's life. She reminds us that self-worth, dignity, and patience are key to achieving success. And most importantly, she shows us that your past doesn't define your future. Your choices do. Thanks for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to Tales by Foxy for more interesting stories like this. We appreciate your support.